Hey everyone, Noodle here. Today I will show you 5 easy fire merges that will light up your camp. Some of these merges create actual useful camp items because they incorporate resource collectors. And some act as decorative light effects. I am a huge fan of using light to breathe life into my own builds. An open fire especially makes things look a little more immersive and interesting. The idea for this video came from you guys in the comments on one of my previous videos, asking for a demo on how to actually light the logs underneath our new Pemmican collectors. So I gave it a shot, it worked, and I couldn't stop there, so I'll actually do 5 awesome fire merges for you today that I'm sure will inspire you to experiment in your own camps. Make sure to stay until the very end because the last merge is the most involved one and kind of the star of the show. Let's start with the basics. But before we jump in, a huge shout out to anyone who's already supporting this channel. If you too would like to give us a hand and say thank you for making all this content, please consider becoming a channel member, a patron, or dropping us a super thanks. The first thing you'll need to achieve any of the merges today is a pressure plate. You will find this item under power connectors. Set it on a flat surface. There's no need to connect it to power, just set it down the way it is. One thing you have to do though is just move it over an inch in any direction. And see, as soon as we drag it over, it becomes depressed. That's what we want. The pressure plate has to be flush with the frame. Once you have that set up, let's find a cool fire source to work with. Over at lights, the camp fire light is a great one to work with. Select it, place it anywhere for now, we'll move it later. Now let's grab a basic appliance, like this wood stove over at appliances. I like this one a lot because it's an appliance that doesn't actually do anything, doesn't have any sort of animation, but it is attractive and it has a door that we can interact with, that we can open. Adding actual fire inside this stove will turn it into a much more interesting piece of furniture for any kitchen or backyard. We can now place the stove over the fire. Line it up the way you like it, more or less. You have to kind of spin around and gauge where the flames will end up. I like it here. Let's grab the fire and drag it over to the pressure plate. If you grab by the stove, you'll just move the stove. In these merges, we always grab by the lowest item. Or you could have set the fire directly on the pressure plate, that works too. Now that both items are on the pressure plate, still in the build menu, we click on the lower item. So just click on the fire, and with every click, the stove will just drop bit by bit, gradually merging into the fire pit. Click a few times until you like how it looks, and once again, grabbing by the lower item, move the whole assembly over and place it wherever you want it. Pretty cool, right? This right here is the basic principle of pressure plate merging. Okay, now that you understand the basic pressure plate merging, we will use the same principle to put some open flames under our Pemmican collectors. We'll use the same campfire for this. Remember to set up your pressure plate and move it just a hair to activate it. If you don't see that click in the pressure plate, this won't work. Now find your Pemmican collector and place it. Remember to line it up nicely and drag it over to the pressure plate. Drag by the fire and click on the fire. That's our lowest item in the stack. I like to press it in as low as possible, like this. And you can overdo this. You can overpress items. If that happens, if you overclick or you don't like the way things line up, just separate your items and do it all over again. Remember that while our wood stove was a regular appliance merged with a campfire, this Pemmican collector is a resource producer. That means that even though we can plant dozens of burning wood stoves in our camp, we can only place one burning Pemmican collector per camp. So don't plan on using these as decorations. This is a functional camp item, one of a kind per build. This next merge is something that I like to make with jack-o'-lanterns and anything that's hollow. Jack-o'-lanterns are great light decorations because they're not actually found under lights, but rather under floor decor. Which means you can place as many of them as you like in your camp without tapping into that light budget. We run out of lights limit way before we run out of overall budget that includes regular decorations. So essentially, these are free lights. I love using these in my camps. They add so much more light than I would otherwise be able to install. If you don't have this item, you can use a lantern or a candle, but be mindful that those are actually lights and you will have a limit on them. For my hollow object on this one, I like to use the newsstand. The pumpkin fits in there just perfectly. Following all the same steps from before, we'll line the pumpkin in the center and click by click, drop it down to the level that looks attractive. You can even offset it a little bit so that in the end, the pumpkin looks like it's partially sticking out of the opening. But I like it this way. This is just another interesting way to add light effects to your camp that's different from simply placing lanterns on flat surfaces. Next up, we have my new favorite candlestick presentation, using ashtrays and these fat wax candles that we got as rewards for Fastnacht. If you don't have these, use any other candles that you have. If you don't have candles at all, unfortunately this won't work. It's a candle trick. The ashtrays that we have in appliances look great as candlestick holders. The cool thing about these candles mixed with these particular ashtrays is that there's enough depth here to play with. We can set a candle barely in or stick it in a little deeper. This will create candles of various lengths, giving them more variety and a more realistic look. It's the sinking option that makes this version of candles interesting, because this way, every single candle is a little bit different. Saving the best for last, this is my absolute favorite fire merge. No doubt you've seen these communal fire pits in people's camps, and merging two of them into a single round structure is very common. But we are going to put a twist on it. With fire pit merges, you have to work on the ground. You cannot do this directly on a pressure plate. So we'll line everything up first and then carry it over to the plate, which is exactly how we've been practicing it this whole time. To create the perfect circle with the two fire pits, I like to line up the second one right on top of the first one, perfectly aligned, like this. Then just rotate it. This way you'll get that perfect circle. Using our now familiar method, carry the whole thing over to the pressure plate, click, 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 and voila! So easy and such a beautiful effect. But we're not done yet. What I like to do is also to sink a cooking station into the fire. You can grab one of the basic cooking stations and just place it on top, and that's a fine look as well. But sinking it is a little bit more sophisticated. To sink the cooking station into the round fire pit, we need to start from scratch. First, set up 1/2 fire pit on the ground. Then place your cooking station in the center of the fire. Now we can place the whole assembly on the pressure plate and click, click, click down until the grid is perfectly lined up with the seating area. I like to make sure that this ladle is perfectly placed and looks realistic. Okay, now we take this whole thing away, take the pressure plate away, bring in your second half and place your now merged cooking half over it. Do the same lineup with the rotation, line up the perfect circle, and place this whole monstrosity back on the pressure plate. And click, click, click down until the two halves are aligned. If you do this carefully and plan it and follow these exact steps, there's no reason not to get it right on the first try. But, you know, sometimes things don't always line up perfectly, or you may have overclicked. If that happens, that's perfectly fine. Just take everything apart and start again. The order of operations is the most important thing here. Merge the cooking station first, then place the merged half over the basic half, align for the perfect circle, merge again, and ta-da! After a couple of times of doing this, you'll be a pro. We have a perfectly round communal fire pit, which acts as a bed and allows you or anyone who uses it to get well rested. And we have a perfectly functional cooking station. Useful, realistic, and attractive. What more can we ask for in a merge? So there you have it, boys and girls. My 5 favorite fire merges with camp items. Which one did you like the best? What else would you like to see and learn? Let me know in the comments below or swing by Vault 42 and drop a video suggestion there. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Please consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member or a patron. Thank you so much for watching. And stay tuned for my next camp build video. This camp that you're seeing right now is a work in progress and will be a separate demo on how to build with offsets, corner steps, and other dynamic architectural setups. Noodle pants, one half of Game Aviator. And until next time, stay safe out there, Vault Dwellers.
In the heart of West Virginia, where the shadows creep and sway, lies a land of rusted dreams, where the brave dare not stray. Appalachia, oh, it's a treacherous ride, with dangers untold and nowhere to hide.